There's much rainwater. Being so close to the lake, you would think there's plenty of water, and there's none. I'm lucky we have an Amish shed builder down the road, and he was young, like 16. And I said, hey, can you help me with this? And he was kind of bored of building the plain old sheds, so he's like, yeah, I'll do this. We got into this in 2001. We were not farmers then.
My first birthday was a month later. Tim got me 6 egg-laying chickens, and that is literally how it started. I fell in love. I absolutely love these chickens. Anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day, depending on how hot it was.
What are we doing?
Yeah, it wasn't economical. It wasn't time management, everything. There was nothing like positive really about it, except for the fact that we could get water.
I think this is a great idea. I've seen this done. He'd been working on farms throughout, New York State and seen a lot of different things. And he's like, yeah, let's try it. I'll do this as a pilot program project. And if it works, maybe I can get some other farmers doing it.
Do you see other farmers putting in these kind of applications around here or anywhere else? Or is it still kind of like a, people don't know about it, people don't know how to try it? So you're Tim, you're Sarah, and this is Autumn's Harvest Farm. And you guys have one of the best views I think I've ever seen through our farm tours. We are right on a huge lake up here in upstate New York. Tell me a little bit about what you guys have going on and what you're doing here.
So we run a very diversified farm. We have egg-laying chickens, beef cattle, sheep, lambs, Thanksgiving turkeys, geese.
Wow.
Pretty much pigs and a number of different animals than any other time of year. We try to do everything's grass-based. We are animal welfare approved. We are certified grass-fed, and we try to do stuff as the way we feel is the best for the environment, something that our kids really can enjoy. And I think that was one of the big reasons we got into it, is because we wanted that family element to the farm.
When did you get into it?
I'll let Sarah tell this story, but we got into this in 2001, and we were not farmers then.
Do you have any farming background whatsoever?
None.
None at all. So we are first generation farmers. We started very, very small with 6 chickens, and I'll let her take that story from there. That's That's her story.
Right. Thank you. So what happened was Tim and I went on our first date, and on the very first date, Tim had ordered a meal and it contained meat, and I ordered just like some chips and salsa or something. And he's like, why didn't you order something else? I'm like, I don't eat meat. He said, why? I said, I don't like the way it tastes. I don't like the way it's grown. I don't like anything about, basically, I didn't really know about the industry. I just knew I didn't like the way that the animals were handled and all of that. I just felt it was kind of grotesque. And so he's like, well, what if you raised it yourself? I was like, oh, I'd eat it. I was like, I'm not against eating meat. I would do it if we raised it ourselves. And he kind of thought that, I think in his head, he saw it as a personal challenge. But not knowing, 1 month to the date of our first date, though, too, I'd also told him a story of how when I went to a friend's farm, I was only 5. She had chickens and they were egg layers, and there was a mama hen. I didn't realize she was broody at the time, and she was sitting on the eggs, and I didn't understand the concept. I just knew that she had hatched these eggs herself. I said, how did she do that? The mother of my friend told me, oh, she just keeps the eggs warm and then they hatch. So I started stealing grocery store eggs one at a time from my mom's, from our kitchen when she would go to the grocery store, not realizing, and I was trying to hatch them in my dresser drawer. They turned out to be rotten eggs, but I learned from there. So on my first birthday was a month later, Tim got me 6 egg-laying chickens, and that is literally how it started. I fell in love. I absolutely love these chickens. I love that. He said, would you want more? I said, yes. And so we started with 6. Next thing you know, I think it was a couple months later, we built a fence, and I'm talking like we had to help like do the digging for the electric, the work, everything by hand. Did as much work as we could. Got 2 cows. So we had 6 chickens, 2 cows, and then, they were bred cows. So next thing you know, we're calving with no experience. We're out there with the rake. It's a black Angus. We're like, don't hurt us. Actually, I'm screaming, don't hurt us. And he's like, Sarah, come on. I'm like, no. But
yeah, we literally had no experience with livestock at the time. And it was just, well, let's do that. We weren't living together or anything. We were just started this.
Okay, hold on. Let's go to that soundbite. So you guys had just started dating.
We just started dating.
Living together.
No.
Even like really
was
that
literally
serious.
Like
but you decided to start a farm together.
Yeah, basically.
Awesome. I love that.
So I think that's why we stayed together as long as we did in the beginning. Like, it's not that we didn't love each other, but I'm telling you, the line, work cattle with someone and you'll know if you're really like meant to be.
Yes.
And I still remember taking my ring off at one point when we finally were engaged. And I was like, over a cow named Rhonda. I'm like, I'm not marrying you. No, because we fought. We couldn't get Rhonda back in the barn for hours and hours. But
oh my gosh.
so we literally we had gone on a date. He got chickens. At this point, like I said, yes, we weren't actually, I was living just about 10 miles away, but I had my own apartment. He had the house. So we were building the farm at his place, but it was our farm.
Wow.
And so we just continued to, we started like 6 chickens, it was 2 cows, and then next thing you know, it was like 3 cows, because what we didn't realize was the whole birthing process and calving. We didn't understand it, and we did lose a calf that first time. So we were devastated. After that, Tim made it his mission, this will not happen again. And honestly, I was like, I'm here for it. We're doing it. And so the next time we had calving and there was any struggle, I got my 14-year-old neighbor. He rode his 4-wheeler over because it's all he could drive. He got some baling twine and he's like, stick your hands in there and get that hoof. And I'm
so
like,
proud of himself.
Aww.
So I
He was
did.
a young Mennonite, and he'd seen it done before, and we had it, so he came over and helped us.
Yep.
Aww.
He
Saved
told me
the
what to
day.
do. He's like, just put your hands in there and do this. I later found out there are gloves you can use. There are like chains you can use.
Uh-huh.
That was later down. Those were technologies I didn't understand at the time.
So this was 2001?
This was
2001.
2001. Actually, the calving experience was approximately, it was going on 2003. So that was 2 years later. I thank you for clarifying. But yeah, that was like 2003. So we had finally had more cattle at that point. And it was also 2003, I believe, when we added pigs for the first time.
Yeah.
We added 3 is where we started with that too. So everything went little by little. So it was 6 chickens, 2 cows. The next thing you know, we have 4. Then we added 3 pigs. All of a sudden, I'm like, how did we get 15 cattle? How did this happen? So now we have 15 cows.
Farmer math.
It was farm math. And all of a sudden, we're like, okay, now we have like over 100 layers. And then it's like, let's try Thanksgiving turkeys. And literally,
Christmas geese. We've done it all.
yes, we have tried
Wow.
different things. And we've tried different breeds.
Pretty much, you name a breed.
You
we
name
tried
a breed
it
of
before we
pig, and I
settled.
think we've.
And we did the same thing with the cattle. We went through and tried different breeds and really worked on finding stuff that works for us and the breeds we liked before we settled. And
Yeah.
now we run a lot of purebreds, but it was definitely a work in progress to find the breeds we did. Some worked, some didn't. Some didn't perform on grass. Some didn't have the dispositions we wanted. There was a lot of different reasons. I feel like now, after 20 some years, we're finally settled. Like, this is the breeds we're raising.
So what breeds are you raising then?
We raise Murray Gray beef cattle.
Okay.
Absolutely love them. Love the breed. Love a lot of the people that
I don't-
raise the breed.
You don't see a lot of people with Murray Grays.
No, we actually have the largest registered herd in the country, so it's something we're really proud of. And
Wow.
not that that's a big deal compared to other breeds, but
It's still a big deal.
it's
That's
a
pretty
big
cool.
deal to us, yeah. And we do sell a lot of seed stock. We're really happy with the quality meat we get from them. We've got, several or 8 other farmers in the state now raising the breed, so we're really happy promoting them.
What about pigs? You said you got pigs. What breed of pigs did you settle on?
We settled on Berkshire. Don't always love their disposition,
Yeah.
but I feel like their meat quality is outstanding.
Consistent.
We're in front of your chickens then. What breed of chicken did you settle on?
These are just their production red type bird.
Like the Rhode Island Reds?
Rhode Island Reds.
Okay. You want to go see them? Can we
Yeah,
can we
well,
hop
absolutely.
in there and
Yep,
open them up?
Fence is off, so we're
Okay.
good to go.
Oh yeah, you
Sweet.
can absolutely go right in. Don't mind me. If I trip and fall, it was meant to be. It was meant for everyone to laugh and have a good time with.
I love these coops.
So actually, Tim was the one that actually designed these coops, and it's funny because we were the first in our area to have them. They may be in other areas, but we were the first in our area. He just took an old trailer and he just took it over to the local
we
Amish
took old
here.
running gear, and I kind of went, and I'm lucky we have an Amish shed builder down the road, and he was young, like 16. And I said, hey, can you help me with this? And he was kind of bored of building the plain old sheds, so he's like, yeah, I'll do this. They've kind of evolved over the year. We've got solar panels on them now. On the other end, we have gutters that collect rainwater for the chicken.
I saw the gutters. I was curious.
Yep. We have 2 doors on, or a door on each side, so that it meets all the animal welfare criteria. We're really happy with them. We feel like we get a really, really good egg.
Yeah, let's open them up and see them then.
Yep.
So every morning we let them out, and
ladies.
every night we lock them up.
Okay.
Got that?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
And then we can go because we got the other ones too. Yeah, and I'll note too that like when we go to collect eggs, it's literally just a matter of like, we lift this up, we go, and then
Yeah, that's awesome. Hi, how are you? They're like, I'm ready to go outside.
they are too. Oh, I latched it, but it doesn't matter. Tally's gonna come through in a minute, so it's no big deal.
Oh, and you've got that's nice. Like the barn latch.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
We've tried to make them as easy as possible. During the winter, all we really do, we put rubber mats on the floor and bed it down.
Okay.
And basically they stay out here in the winter too.
Because they are open floored.
Yep,
then.
so we
Okay.
cover up the open floor. The open floor allows the manure to fall through,
Yeah.
but it just would be too cold during the winter, so we
Yeah.
put some rubber mats down.
Do you put heating lamps in there during the winter or anything?
No.
No.
Nope. And
Okay.
we've had no problems with it at all.
Yeah. What I will say is we do with the rubber mats in there, they go almost all the way up. There's a little bit of room left where there's a little bit of airflow, but we do let the manure kind of build up just a little bit, but every day we kind of go in
Bed it
and we
down.
bed it down.
Okay.
So we bed it down with like wood chips and a little straw. Obviously manure, and so when you open these doors, they can be anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees warmer than what's outside.
Oh, wow.
We also
If it-
move them over to our compost pad during the winter too, which is
Okay.
constantly creating heat. And we actually have a group of chickens over there now. We always try to leave some chickens over there when we're cleaning barns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of spread the compost, and
That's a good idea.
we go through and scrape it up, and all the pads will be on there. It's pretty cool in the winter. You know, you could drive out to our compost pad and there'll be 12 or 1,500 chickens all over the piles, you know,
Yeah.
scratching and keeping warm. It's pretty good.
You can go ahead and open up the rest
Just keep
of them, and
opening.
I'll just stand back and watch.
Perfect.
Or actually, while she's doing that, do you want to walk me through some of the designs on the inside?
Sure.
We can do this one since they're all out.
Yep.
So you've got roosting bars and nesting boxes.
Yep, we want them to have plenty of space to perch. Each house has a feeder in it. It's really simple design. We have clear panels to let sunlight in, and we want to make sure that they have enough space so that all of them can get up and roost at the same time.
How many chickens do you put in each?
These ones got about 150 each in them at the
Okay.
maximum.
Okay.
They have plenty of nest boxes in here, and they have a little, on the other side, a little door that they can go out that side too.
Oh, can we
That
go
we
see
zip.
that? The
Yep.
other side? Because that's where I'm guessing the water is from the gutters. Oh, so you got rainwater.
Yep, we
there.
collect as much rainwater. Being
In
so
there.
close to the lake, you would think there's plenty of water, and there's none.
Like for a well, you mean?
Yeah, you can't have
Really?
wells. So this farm and our one across the street, they're entirely ran on rainwater.
Oh, wow.
We have no electricity ran to this farm, so it's solar powered. So we have a solar powered pump that collects water down there in the reservoir and sends it all the way up throughout this whole farm.
Wow.
And we could run, you know, I think hundreds of cattle on this farm, sheep, everything. We never run out of water.
Okay.
But there's literally zero outside inputs with it.
Will we get to see that when we go down there?
If you want to go down there, we could absolutely
I
go
think
down
we
there.
should.
It's,
That's really
it's
cool.
down in the corner.
Okay.
And we do a lot of different types of rainwater collection. I've been pretty fortunate. Our local soil and water conservation has got behind me and kind of promoted and funded a lot of these crazy ideas I
Yeah.
have. But
I love it.
it's been a good thing for us.
And is this just a lick tub?
Yep.
Or like a mineral
Yeah,
tub?
well, one of our neighbors uses them and
That's
gives
a
them to us
great
when they're done.
idea. And you just put the plug in and it goes to a Plawson water.
Yep.
Yep.
Once a
What a
week we go
great
through and
idea.
just give them a quick scrub out and they're good to go.
How much, I mean, this right here is sitting like this full. How is like the rainfall around here? Are you able to?
This year it's been a wet year. It seems like every year it changes. We've seen years where we have a lot of droughts, you know, where we get 2 or 3 months with no rain, but this year has been really, really wet.
What do you
so-
do when there is no rain?
We have
That's
a
what the-
hose over here
Okay.
that runs off the solar powered pump. We have ready access, so we
Okay.
fill up waters all the time.
We'll check that out here in a second.
Yep. And then we have range feeders on the outside.
These big ones. Okay.
Yep. And the chickens get to go about usually every day we rotate them all before we let them all out.
Okay.
So they'll get moved in the same little area, but they're constantly being moved.
So you move the houses every day.
Every day.
The fence is probably what, once a week?
Probably once every 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
We kind of just split it up. So we started this group across over there, and now they're working their way this way.
Gotcha.
And it comes back really, really nice. But believe it or not, this field's already been grazed twice by our cattle.
Wow.
Yeah,
And it's just now July.
yeah.
Wow.
So we get them out here early. I feel like we're probably one of the first farms out grazing. So what we've done is we've run drainage tile all the way down and dug a pond in the corner of the farm. And that's where we build our pump house. Literally the water travels in kind of a circle where when it rains, it sends it down to the pond, and then we have a solar powered pump that pumps it throughout the whole farm here.
Wow.
And we've done something similar on the same side. It runs our house, it runs the entire farm, the barns, everywhere. And I think that's been one of the greatest things we've done.
So are you moving the cows every day?
Yep, they move every day.
Okay.
We don't want them to overgraze at all. And what happens is we have 5 different paddocks on this side of the fence, and we break them down into multiple little daily rotational grazing. So we just literally keep them in with a single strand of polywire, and the calves can obviously duck under it. They get the best, they get to eat the best first, and then they just get rotated every day. And it just kind of snakes down all the way to the bottom of our field, and then we cross them over and work our way right back up.
On
So
that
they'll-
side,
Yep.
okay.
So
everything kind of flows in a circle. It's really easy to manage. It gives the pastures plenty of break. Like I said, this has already been grazed twice, so it takes them about 45 days to do a full rotation down throughout the entire farm.
How many cows do you have?
We have probably around 60 cows right now. Our numbers are down a little bit. They changed a lot during COVID, and we try to keep around 200 head total on the farm at any time.
Can we
So
walk
we have
down to
60. Yep, we have about 60 mama cows right now.
we have them dispersed right now too in different groups in different areas because we're about to start breeding. And for that reason, we have like one small group here, another small group there, just because we'll be putting different bulls in. And Tim goes through the genetics of every single one. I can't take credit for that, but he literally goes through every single one and he'll be like, okay, this is Lilac, this is her mom, this was her dad, this is here, this is there. So we can only use this bull here because it's new in genetics.
Yeah.
And I will say Tim takes a lot of great care and consideration when it comes to that. COVID was a funny time because when we did need to get new genetics in, we had to transport, import semen from Australia, and they were holding it up because of COVID.
Small group of our older cows, and they'll be added to after we AI. We'll kind of combine the groups. Every one of these cows is part of the Murray Grey breed plan, so we measure everything from their birth weight to their weaning weight, their yearling weight, and it really helps us track, the ones that are doing really well on grass. And those ones that are doing the very best, we retain for our breeding program.
You've got about 200 head
Yep,
at any time, about 60 mama cows. You said that they're 100% grass fed?
100% grass fed.
How old are the calves when they're processed?
It varies. Like last year wasn't at the very earliest. We've done it in 18 months, and we were very proud of that.
Wow.
I thought we had it figured out. Last year it took us, somewhere 24 months. I think a lot of that has to do with the quality of the pastures and the weather, that type of stuff.
Yeah, what was different with last year versus
We had a drought. We didn't have to feed hay through the drought, which, was great, but it wasn't the quality that we needed.
Yeah.
We'd go through and we take measurements of the bricks levels, everything of the grass. We want to make sure that everything's great. And I think I probably maybe should have been supplement feeding them a little bit, but we didn't end up doing that. And, our quality is very important to us, so we don't want to send them out before they're really ready. Our customers want a really great product. They've been with us a long time, so we won't send an animal before it's 100% ready.
So what are you looking for then when it comes to quality? Are you looking at like carcass value?
Yeah, we go through and we do ribeye measurements on our breeding stock. We look at their weight, just their general condition, and we want them to have some fat to them too. I think a lot of people like the idea of a grass-fed steak, but they still want some marbling with it.
Yeah.
And that was important to us too.
So where did you learn how to keep track of all of these things? Why these things are important? How did you find that information?
I think it's been a work in progress. We've really tried a bunch of different breeds and a bunch of different things, and I read a lot and do a lot of research on what works and what doesn't work. And
And if you'll let me interject a little bit too, because I think sometimes we forget too, and he does all the research, he does all the work. I don't despise that. Also, I think this is important. One thing, we fail a lot too. We try things and they're like, it doesn't work. And then we have to figure out why. So Tim's done a lot of, okay, this didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? Why didn't this work? Why didn't that breed work? What was wrong with this thing that I tried? But also when we first came into the industry of farming as well too, there weren't a lot of older farmers that were willing to help us and teach us.
Yeah.
And the few that Tim would literally knock on like doors of other farmers and be like, hey, could you help me with this? Can you teach me about this? And it was like, no. But for every no he got, I guess it would say like every 20th door, there would be like, come on in. So like we had several farmers. One was like, okay, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about pigs. And while you're doing
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I'm going to have you help me do this. Another gentleman was like, I will teach you about cattle, but I'm not going to lie. I'm going to need to sell you a couple and have you help us. And we were like, that's okay.
Yeah.
We need to learn, and this is what we want. So we did, even though it took a long while for Tim to get those yeses, and it was Tim, because I was like, no, I'm not going to their door. I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
I would literally go knock on doors.
Tim
Wow.
would.
You
He
know,
would just knock on doors and
I don't know how I did it back then. I look back, and even when we got our first restaurant account, it was a snowstorm, and I had this appointment. I dressed my son up. He was
2 months old.
Yeah,
He was 2
I
months
dressed
old.
him up real nice, and I brought him right along
Aw.
to the first interview I had with a restaurant. And after that, she's like, listen, I really, really like you. I'm going to link you up with another restaurant. And I'm like, no, we got 2 restaurants.
I know, we were so excited.
Yeah, it was great.
So yeah, it was a lot of, we being first generation, we were willing to also, when Tim did get those yeses, as much as he was willing, I was willing to listen to the other farmers. I was listening to hear what they did. I was listening to hear what worked for them and what didn't. And we did find over the years sometimes that we needed to try our own ways. And sometimes they were good and sometimes they were not. And then we did too, I will say, because I did see too that you interviewed Joel Salatin, and we actually found him.
Yeah.
And we found his books, and so we started reading from his books. And some of the things we did were based off of what he did, but with our own style or twist to it, which was just our own personal modifications, whether it was for our own terrain or for our own experience or materials that we had. So it was a good inspiration for us. And he's what originally got us into, like, just farming in this way, in kind of a sustainable way. And it was great. And then over time, Tim was like, well, I feel like there might be even other ways. And then that's how he got into like regenerative and silvopasturing and doing all of that, which previously we hadn't known about. But that's it.
I think, one of the farms that I worked on very early on was a first generation farmer himself. He'd been doing it for 40 or 50 years at that time. He was first generation, and he was very innovative and well above the ahead of his time, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
He had a restaurant on the farm at one point. He did the farmer's market. He was certified organic, farm school tours, and all this stuff. And he, allowed me to work there, and he worked me hard for 6 months. But then he actually paid me in breeding stock too.
Yeah.
Because he had this breeding stock that he developed for, his entire life pretty much, And I think that was like, hey, we got a pig named Molly, and she was our first breeding pig, and she drove me crazy, but
she sure did.
I got her for putting up fencing for his pasture pig operation. And this is...
Hey, was that in this area?
Yeah, believe it or not, he was probably 1.5 miles from here. You'd go there for... I remember when I was a kid going to his farm for a school tour. So that's what I remembered to look him up. I was like, I was probably 8 or 9, and we'd go out there and tour the pig farm, and then get a pulled pork sandwich lunch, and I was like, that place is amazing. So that's how I thought all farms were when, we got into it, but it wasn't always the case.
So we came down here to one of your reservoir ponds because you said that even though you're right on a huge lake and river, you guys don't have any water here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, if you drive up and down the Route 89 that runs along the lake, you used to see a ton of signs that said, need water, need water, need water. They'd put that up because they were trying to encourage the county to run public water to them. Being so close to the lake, you would think there's just an abundance of water in the ground and stuff like that. But actually, if you dig down a little bit, in most places you hit shale, and I think everything just flows to the lake. So what we did is we put in drainage tile and ran them to this pond was the first thing we've done. And then we put in another series of ponds that we could pump water to this pond if we need to. Really easy. We have a kind of a ditch system that runs around and keeps this pond full at all times.
Wow. So you put drainage lines in your field,
yep,
like you would a corner soybean field.
Yep.
And it all runs to here.
It all runs to the pond.
But then also all of your gutter systems.
Yep, we have gutter systems that run to ponds. We have ditches that run to ponds. Everything so we could collect the most water possible.
We even have one smaller pond, which you may not see today, but we have one smaller pond that is just beyond where that big tree is right there.
Okay.
So there's a small pond there, but it's literally about 20 feet deep. And there's even like a runover from there. So like the runover comes off and then hits the drainage tiles and once again brings the water to the ponds here.
Wow.
And what Tim also, this was probably about 6 or 7 Christmases ago when we had this, I still remember Christmas Eve, we had like a drought and we had like the loss loss of water. So Tim came down and actually dug the pond out even further so that we would hopefully never have that issue again as well.
Because it gets so bad with the water in the
Okay,
ground.
I don't know what that means. What is a water buying station?
So you could go over, to one of several places with, a 300-gallon tote, or some people bring like the little square
Like water jugs?
water jugs, or 1,000 gallons, and you could go there and pay, a reasonable amount of money, like maybe a penny a gallon, to get your water there, then bring it back and use it for your livestock and fill your wells and stuff like that. So if you go there any given day, and if it's a hot summer or dry summer, you might have to wait in line for 15, 20 minutes up to an hour just to get your water. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's city water, and it's housed right at most of our local fire departments.
Okay.
And so what they do is the local fire departments have a shed that's actually smaller than the one that we have here. And it literally is just like, it literally is only meant for like 1 or 2 people to be in. You have to bring your own hose and everything. So you bring your own hose, which is, the big ones, and like you connect it, you put it on, you bring it out, and it will fill your trough in no time. But it does, what they do is like they charge you like per gallon as they go, and it doesn't.
It's you write your own. You just fill out a logbook and fill it out. But it's just it was a lot of time we were spending over there before we did this water system. That we had no idea we were going to run into that problem. But once we did, we were like, now what do we do? And they're like, oh, you can go buy water here. You can go buy water here. So that's what we were doing. But it was taking us off the farm, and we really weren't set up for it either. We didn't have a big trailer, so we were bringing these small 175 or 275 gallon jugs over there and filling those up, and
anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day, depending on how hot it was.
What are we doing?
Yeah, it wasn't economical. It wasn't time management, everything. There was nothing like positive really about it, except for the fact that we could get water, and that was the only positive attribute. But it wasn't efficient in any way, shape, or form. So we needed to become more efficient and self-sufficient. Yeah. And that's what led Tim to, once again, like I said, even though first generation, like, I'm not gonna lie, we are a little traditional in some ways. Like, I might be home looking up like 30, 40 different recipes for like beef, and that's what I'm doing, or pork, or like, I'm gonna cook this tonight for dinner. But Tim is like, how do I change this water system? What do I do? Calls the neighbor. So what do you do for water? Like, how does this go? Like, what do you do with this? Has anyone ever put drainage tile this way? No, I don't think so. Can it be done though? Let me call the guy.
I was pretty fortunate to link up with Soil and Water Conservation, and the guy that really got behind me and was like, hey, I think this is a great idea. I've seen this done. He'd been working on farms throughout, New York State, and seen a lot of different things. And he's like, yeah, let's try it. I'll do this as a pilot program project, and if it works, maybe I can get some other farmers doing it. Yeah. So he really got behind us, got us a lot of grant money to do a lot of this work, which I'm pretty happy with. He made a lot of this possible, because there's no way on our income we would have been able to finance all this stuff. And
how much did it cost you in the grand scheme of things?
This was actually one of our. It's a pretty simple project. I think he had maybe $12,000 into it.
Oh wow!
So it wasn't anything expensive. I mean, the water lines that go throughout the field and go up to the road are all above ground.
How does that work in the wintertime then?
In the wintertime, we have to move them across the road to our other farm.
So this isn't your only pond. You've got multiple ponds.
Yeah, we've got 5 different ponds.
Because you said
2 main ones get water fed to them.
Because you said on the Kubota that not only does this feed your livestock, but the ponds across the road where your house is feed your house.
Yeah,
too.
They absolutely do.
And that's your drinking water. That's how you do the dishes and your laundry and
your
showers.
Our only source of water that we have comes from
your ponds.
The rains and the ponds.
Yep.
And it's so deep that even in drought years, you're okay.
We're good now. It took us a long time to get there and to figure out these systems, but we can last a long time.
Can we see your system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got it in this shed here.
Yep, it's a really simple pump system, and it's battery operated. We got solar panels on the outside.
Okay.
And then we have a hose that goes to the pond that we pump the water there. It goes into the compression tank, and then all the waters are on floats up top, so it just kind of feeds them as it's needed.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it just kicks on.
Yep.
Yep.
And otherwise it holds a charge. I mean, we could go 3, 4, 5 days without sunlight, and this system still stays charged.
Wow. What kind of battery system are you using then?
I could show you, I think. Hopefully.
Yeah, it literally is just...
Oh, yeah, just 4 big batteries?
Yep, it's a pretty simple system. Okay. I think the batteries were, one of the most expensive things with the system. I think they were about $300 each, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
But they've lasted. I mean, it's been close to 8 years now, and they're still going strong.
Wow. And then what's your filter system look like?
Because you filter the water, right?
Yeah, at this farm, because it's for livestock, what we did is we put gravel around the pipe that goes into the pond. So it just filters out the big stuff. I mean, the water still looks crystal clear when it goes up there.
Yeah, and there is like a slight, I think, didn't we put a filter like on the bottom, just like a mesh like filter
Yeah,
on
just
the bottom?
like a screen.
Okay.
But,
yeah,
and then we
sorry.
covered it with
bugs
big stone.
and
Yeah.
fish didn't get
So
in
we're
there.
not pumping
Yeah.
anything up there, but they've got, a few tons of, big rock gravel around the pond. So that filters out most of the sediment there. At the house, we have a sand filtration system because obviously we're drinking that water and it goes through the sand filter.
And what I would say too, with the sand filtration, a lot of it, it's kind of like, imagine just basically cylinders like this, but literally as tall as Tim.
Okay.
And there's 4 of them. And so the water literally goes through those 4 huge sand filtration systems. So when the water comes out there, it literally comes out crystal clear.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
it comes out crystal clear. When it comes to our house though, and that is just the farm setup. So the farm just gets the sand filtration system and that's what they get. When it then takes one more step, because the pumps are also right there too, and one pump just takes that water from the sand and there you go, it spits it back out into the farm. So it goes to the animals there, and then the other pump goes into the house where we actually live right there, which is only a few hundred feet away. And it goes into our basement where it does one more final transition where it does go through another filtration system. And then it...
you said it was reverse osmosis and
Yep.
UV.
we have reverse osmosis and UV light. And then it comes up and that is our shower, our drinking, everything water.
Yeah, we actually had a group of doctors living in the house because we have a chiropractic school not far from here, and they said it was the best water they ever had.
And
So when they come back, they're like, "Hey, can I get a glass of water? This was literally the best water we ever had."
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Wow."
That's a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
our kids are finicky too. If our kids go out or something, it's not that they won't drink a bottled water or something, but if somebody gives them tap water from their house in the town, they're kind of like, "Oh, we're good, thank you."
I hate
and they're
tap
like,
water.
"It tastes
Yeah.
so funny," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're not used to that."
Yeah, I am the biggest water snob, like probably in the world. I am, unless I am like dying of thirst.
Yes.
I will not drink. Like I won't drink water at restaurants. Cannot do it. And I prefer spring water
Gotcha.
Yes,
over
Yes.
filtered water. But
too.
living in a camper, we have filtered water, so I drink the filtered water. But if
Right.
we can get spring water, so much better.
I agree.
But I've never had rainwater, so now I kind of want to try a glass of water.
Exactly.
See if I like it.
So we have this big gray pipe that goes down there, and inside of that is our pump.
Okay.
And this goes down about 20 feet. And at the very bottom of it, we have I think we brought in like 8 or 10 ton of big, heavy, clean stone to put in there.
Okay.
That serves as our filtering system for that. And it literally pumps all the way up there. And if you look down the row, we have different spots. It's kind of hard to see.
Oh, it's kind of
'cause
hard
the
to see,
weeds.
but it's like right.
Yeah,
right
but
over
we
there.
have 4 or 5 different.
The drainage tile basically
Yeah, the drainage
comes
tile
down.
runs right to here into 4 or 5 different spots. So we've got it coming from this way, and it actually works out pretty good because the hill, it's like a nice slight slope going.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely are
Yeah.
at like a bottom of the slope here.
Yeah, so just kind of everything just flows down here real naturally, and it works out great. My kids love the pond. They come down here and go fishing.
I was
mean,
going
it
to
serves-
ask you if you've stocked it.
It is stocked. We did not stock it, but I think it got naturally stocked by the birds carrying in the eggs or something
Oh.
because it is stocked.
I
That's
know.
cool.
So my son and daughter will come down here and catch 20, 30, 40 fish at a time, and I'm like, wow.
Wow. That could be, I mean, you guys are running like a farm for, farm to table meat business. But if somebody wanted to do a system like this, just as their own off-grid system, I mean, you can eat the
Absolutely.
fish, you've got clean water. Oh, I just saw a fish jump.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This could really be an easy off-grid system.
Yeah,
It seems like it works really well.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much no work.
Yeah.
I mean, we pull the pump out once the ground freezes and drain the pipes, but everything kind of flows out anyways, and then we put it back in the spring, and that's easy to go.
Yeah.
What about the one for your house, though, that you're using throughout the winter? How do you handle that one?
That one has lines underground. So we ran all of our lines because we like to keep the cows out during the winter and the sheep, and everybody stays out of the barns as much as possible. So everything over there is ran underground, and we have the frost-free hydrants, we have the geothermal waters, and everything there is good. And that pond's actually deeper because we never want to run out of water at our house.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've had it when we first bought the farm where we were buying in water, like we mentioned. We're filling up the well here, we're filling up a well here, And we've seen several houses want to go up, and they come in and they buy the property and they try to put a well in, they strike out, and then it's for sale again. And we've seen that happen so many times.
Wow. That's actually what happened with, there's a 3-acre property that we drove by when we came down, and they kind of have campers there right now, and it's just kind of like a summer fun place that they have. But originally it was bought by a person who wanted to build a house there, but they actually didn't have appropriate enough water. And because they didn't have enough water, even though they tried digging a well, doing everything, so they ended up...
They spent a fortune on digging wells there, and they couldn't get the water.
So that's why they ended up selling it. And with those guys just having campers, they're like, yeah, no big deal.
Right.
We're here on the weekends. We bring our
They
own
bring
water.
their water. It's no big deal for them. They got a nice view, and that's what mattered to them.
Yeah, and we did make this farm. We do only use this farm during the spring and summertime because we also do give all the paddocks. We give them a rest. So we give these pretty much a rest. We just kind of let them settle and just not have too much going on. And then, so that's why we have the solar panels. Those are what run the pump. Right there, so just those 2 solar panels there. And then when we came in with the gate too, that 1 solar panel, that runs the entire electric fence you see. And that's everything here. There is no like wired electric here. It's all just solar powered.
Wow,
yeah.
That's awesome. You guys have worked through, like you said earlier, like many trials and tribulations, and you've really just kind of figured it out as you went. And this is kind of, you said, like your most innovative piece on this farm. Do you see other farmers putting in these kind of applications around here or anywhere else, or is it still kind of like people don't know about it, people don't know how to try it?
I think the word definitely has to get out that there's different ways of doing things. There was some initial cost in getting this going, but I think the benefits far outweigh, the risk and the amount of fuel that takes to go get the water, the amount of time, all that.
Yeah.
So there was some, cost up front, but I think it's a really simple system that could benefit a lot of different people.
Absolutely.
Well, and what I'll say too is what I'm seeing is I do think that some of the younger and newer farmers coming in that are trying to get into it, they are looking for newer and innovative ways, and they're looking for more creative ways to solve problems. Our area, once in a while, this doesn't happen all the time with every farmer, but some of our older generation farmers, I know from speaking with them, they kind of get stuck in, well, this has always worked for me, and I'll do it this way. And yes, we might need to go get water, but this has always worked for me.
Yeah.
And I understand that logic and thinking, like if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of mentality.
Right.
But at the same time, Tim and I, it was a broken system for us. It was too timely and it was too inefficient. And so we had to, and I see the younger generations coming in like, we really like that you did that. How could we do that on a small scale to start and eventually go up? So I do like that. And I like the fact that Tim worked with soil and water and that he's now kind of like talking to other farmers about it. Like, hey, I saw this on like the Hawes' farm. Have you tried this or have you thought of that?
Yeah, he brings people out here, which is really nice.
Which
and
awesome.
we like. He's spreading the word for us.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And not to mention costly too. Like, do you know how much money you are spending in water a year?
So the actual going and getting water and the cost of the actual water wasn't that expensive at all. I would say only a few $100s a year in the actual cost of actual water. Okay. But if you count the fact that we were sending, so Tim and I are fortunate enough to have help on the farm now. So we have a couple people that work with us. And so when we send them and when we send them in the vehicles and we send them getting water, we spent thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it was $40 to $50 a trip, I think we were spending to send them.
And you said you're doing like 10 a day?
We could do up to 10 a day because once in a while we'll hit those 90-degree temperatures, but even on an 85-degree day or 80-degree, we'd have to go and make numerous chips to fill all the troughs.
We were set up for it. Some of the big dairy farms that go there, they come in with 2,000-gallon tanks, but we just had these little.
We had like 150 and 200-gallon tanks.
So we're making so
we were
many
making up
trips.
to 10 trips a day.
And you said, so at $50 a trip, up to 10 trips a day, $500 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's, say that's for 150 days or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
It cost you $12,000 to put this in. I mean, a year.
Oh, it paid for itself, absolutely.
2 years, I mean, you're golden.
Yep.
It just had some tweaking. That is awesome. So thank you both so much for having me out here and showing me this huge and amazing innovative idea. All of your links to contact you, to show what you're doing, we'll put in the description. I'm so glad you guys had me out. So thank you so much for opening up your farm and having me here.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it and we love showing you around. So thank you for reaching out and coming to see us as well, and safe travels and everything throughout your entire time here. And we hope you enjoy it.
Appreciate that. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. So every single time it happens, We can go to any farm and there is always something amazing to learn, and this farm did not disappoint on that. The water system is absolutely amazing. I can't believe that we are in a place that has so much rainfall and a huge lake and no one has water here. It's baffling to me. And there are some really expensive neighborhoods around here and they don't have water. So for this farm to come up with such an ingenious and innovative and brilliant idea, put the drainage to a pond, pump the pond water out. It's so simple, it makes so much sense. So if you are having problems getting water, if you want a safer, more reliable way to get water, this is it. And I think that whenever, wherever we end up, we will be doing something like this also, because this is absolutely brilliant. Thank you again for coming with me and enjoying this beautiful farm with a brilliant setup for their water catchment. I will see you at the next one.